So what we're doing for the next few weeks is we're practicing with the Wheel of Life, which is a traditional Tibetan tanka, a drawing about the circumstance we find ourselves in as human beings. It's on the entryway to most Tibetan Mahayana temples at least in the East. Maybe I've never seen it in the United States on a Tibetan temple, but I haven't, huh. So there's a question. Um, I'm going to I'm going to read you something from, how about Debbie, you want to put up the Wheel of Life just so everybody has a sense of what we're talking about?
Sure.
This is the Wheel of Life. And that scary looking being is Yama, who is called the Lord of Death. Or it might be, you could say, Yama is the one who knows about impermanence, and it makes all of us very nervous. And so we do all kinds of different things, the roots of which are uh, the way we try to get out of the predicament of impermanence is greed, hate, and delusion. Greed, desire, which is normal, but we're afraid somebody's going to get something we didn't have, or maybe we're not going to get enough. These are all ways we get distracted and go round and round. Hate, aversion. Something happens and we blame somebody out there, or the anger inside at ourselves. These are just our disappointment, frustration. And delusion is fundamentally ignorance, which is that we don't understand that everything is ephemeral and everything is passing in and out of existence, and anything we had will change in a moment. And whatever stories we're making up are stories of the moment. But if we can ground ourselves here in the body, it comes and goes. And then we don't suffer quite as much. So what we're going to focus on the next weeks is the if you look in the middle of it, there are 6 different sections in there, and those are called the six realms. And I'm going to read you about those right now, and we'll keep this up while I read it. This is from the introduction of The Wheel of Life: Buddhist Perspectives on Cause and Effect, the Dalai Lama. Why are we in this situation? Where are we going? Do our lives have any meaning? How should we make use of our lives? Does any How does Buddhism view the position of beings in the world and the way humans can make their lives meaningful? These are all good questions. This actually isn't the Dalai Lama talking. I think in this case it's Richard Gere, which is interesting because we're going to do the God realm tonight, and I was going to say that movie stars are in the God realm. It's a rare, well, maybe it's not a rare movie star. Richard Gere is one of uh, has a very visible spiritual life. These questions about the meaning of life are addressed in a famous Buddhist painting of a wheel with 21 parts that outlines the process of rebirth. Rebirth, whether you think it's lifetimes or you think it's moment after moment. The diagram, said to be designed by the Buddha himself, depicts an inner psychological cosmology that has had great influence throughout Asia. It is much like a map of the world or the periodic table of chemical elements, but it is a map of an internal process and its external effects. So this map is going to answer all these questions for us. Why are we in this situation? What are we doing? Do our lives have meaning? How do we make use of our lives? This beautiful little diagram may help us with these questions. This painting describes how we become trapped in a counterproductive maelstrom of suffering and how this process can be reversed. showing how Buddhists place themselves in an ever-changing universe of cause and effect. By illuminating the causes behind our situation of limitation and pain, the wheel of cyclic existence reveals how, through practicing antidotes to these causes, we can overcome the painful and limiting situations that are their effects. It shows the altruistic purpose that can make life meaningful. The unsettling description of the steps of entrapment is a call to action, for it shows how the prison of selfishness can be turned into a source of help and happiness for both oneself and other. So I'll point out again that in each of the 6 realms, if you look, there's a little Buddha or Bodhisattva in each of the realms. So right in the midst of whatever the affliction might be, or the belief system, or the experience might be, there's always a Buddha and a Bodhisattva there to help. Sometimes it's the Buddha and Bodhisattva in us. Sometimes it's the Buddha and Bodhisattva in the Zoom box next door to you. Sometimes it's the person I don't know, I was going to say driving on the freeway next to you. Sometimes it's your neighbor who is disturbing you. You never know what Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, how they're going to show up. So the one that we're going, well, let me just, one other little part from this, which is the Dalai Lama. The types of states to which productive and counterproductive actions lead are depicted in the 6 sectors drawn around the half circles of action. So it's the 6 I was referring to. All six are caught in cyclical existence. Thus, even though the wheel is basically divided into 2 parts, there's an upper part, the top 3, and the bottom 3. The top 3 look like they're representing something happy, and the bottom 3 look like they're representing something bad. Everything in these realms, if you believe them, means you're still caught in a wheel of cause and effect. Well, you're in a wheel of cause and effect no matter what, but you're believing it. And the 6 is if you do, the very top, it's the realm of the gods. That's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about each of these. I'm going to talk about one today and one on Thursday. If you're really interested, you can listen to the talks, and I'll try to do a little backup. The next one is the demigods, which I think we're going to the right. Then the next one is the realm of the humans. No, wait a minute. I should have figured this out. Well, anyway, and the top 3 are the gods, which is clearly the god realm in the middle, the demigods, which might be the one on the left, and the human on the right. And then in the very bottom realm, you can see on the left-hand side on the bottom is the animal realm. On the right-hand side on the bottom is, if this is making sense, it's called hungry ghosts. And then at the very bottom is the hell realm. Okay, so we can take that away now. So this is about us. This painting that looks other is to help us wake up to where we can get caught, and practices that can help us and the world generate more altruism and kindness and awareness of these different realms. So this is good therapy, if you want to look at it that way. So each of the 6 realms could be depicted as a physical realm, physical situations in which people are born into. And or they can be described as psychological, mental states that we can experience throughout the day. Sometimes you're feeling good. Well, that might be a God realm. And then the next minute, you can't believe what somebody did to you. And it just feels like, man, this is just such a familiar hell realm. I've been here for 100 million times. And what happened? And then, and then, oh, well, we'll tell you about all the other ones as we go along. So they're not permanent. They're moods. It can manifest as a mood, as an attitude, as an emotional landscape, and they can also be reflected outside because, of course, we project our mood outside. So if we're feeling like an internal hell realm, suddenly we can look around a perfectly nice environment and perceive it as a hell realm. And on the other hand, as we'll talk about in the God realms, someone observes that in India, often there's awful poverty, but people can be happier there than perhaps people in America that have lots of material goods. So none of this is linear. So you can view each of these realms as a reflection of an inner state inside of you, and maybe a view or a way to also see the world and the workings of the world. So the God or heavenly realms. I thought I'd start where it was fun and interesting, because probably we all think it would be fun to be a god, although I'm not so sure. They're in Buddhism, they're called devas in Sanskrit. So gods. Have a delight-filled, carefree existence in their home among the clouds in the sky. They've gone to heaven right here on earth. They're always comfortable. Things are pleasant. Their desires are fulfilled. They're constantly entertained with pleasures and are spared pain and hardship. Okay, now who wouldn't want to sign up for that one, right? Or maybe we have a little taste of it and we think, wow, I just tasted a God realm. But then the next minute, something took it away. And then, anyway, that's what we do. But maybe we think it would be nice to be in a permanent God realm. Well, we'll see. They have long lifespans. And they're often born into privilege. It's like it came with the package. I was thinking, well, these days one of the ways you might say that is what some people are saying is white privilege. We don't know it, but there is this kind of an entitlement. So one of the ways you can identify the shadow side of this God realm is self-absorption, self-gratification, I got it made mind, a lack of compassion and awareness of suffering for others. You can become complacent in the God realm. You can be self-absorbed and escapist because you really want to preserve this really nice realm. You want to preserve pleasantness. And who wouldn't want to do that? But we could say the shadow side of this realm is there's nothing difficult. So there's nothing to come up against. There's no way to have an awakening of, oh, maybe spiritual practice could help me and other people. There's no contrast, only lack of something. Because there's no contrast, you can't know you can't know something's warm and delicious if you haven't been cold and hungry. It just becomes, there's a flatness to it. Without hardships and deprivations, there's no growth and maturity. Anyone can live here and be calm and beneficent. I think sometimes on a spiritual path, we think, I'm going to go on this path and I'm going to get calm and I'm going to get loving, which sort of sounds like a kind of very pleasant God realm that maybe transcends the suffering of the world. But this teaching is saying, no, that's not really, you wouldn't know calm if you didn't know upset. You wouldn't know love and kindness if you also didn't know anger and disturbance in your own mind and in the world. The one of the stories about the demise of the gods, or what happens when you're in this realm, is that everything's going along fine for a very long time. Maybe that happened to some of you. I'm assuming you still don't believe in some permanent God realm, or you probably wouldn't be here. Because usually something comes along and somebody dies, some kind of hurt or pain. But the particular story is that eventually the day comes when the gods look in the mirror and see gray hair. Sign of aging, and it's a tragic calamity because the gods clutch at what they have and then they get anxious for the future. And this is what signals the demise of living in a permanent, what you think is a permanent heavenly God realm. Oh my goodness. There's wrinkles on my face. Oh my goodness. Someone next to me who I loved is getting old and dying. So there's no permanence in that. It says here that one of the things you may have noticed on the wheel, that the God realm is at the very top and the hell realm is at the very bottom, is what may happen if you're so attached to a God realm is you may be plunged into the hell realms, because the loss of pleasure is likely to cause resistance and desperate, futile clutching to hold on to pleasure. The other side of this, though, is there are others who spend long times in heavenly realms to help prepare themselves for deeper spiritual practice, so they can return to the other realms with the intention to help others with their bodhisattva hearts. So you don't want to assume that if you see somebody in a God realm that that's bad or judge them, because they may be just there stabilizing and getting ready to be able to help other people. I thought I would read you one of the Jizo is one of the bodhisattvas that I think many of you know I love, and the Jizo Sutra talks about these six realms. And here's what it says about the God realm. The Buddha told the bodhisattva Jizo, in the world of the present and future, there will be gods whose heavenly merit has ended, who manifest the 5 signs of decay and who are about to fall into evil paths. When these signs appear, these gods, whether male or female, can see a bodhisattva and a bodhisattva Jizo, hear Jizo's name, perceive Jizo, and if they bow to him, they will remember their true heavenly blessings and receive great happiness and never fall again into the hell realms. But this is what happens. Here are the signs that herald the fall of a god. I thought these were kind of sweet. Thought maybe you might like them. The ever fresh flower headdresses of the gods begin to wilt. The permanent clean clothes of the gods become soiled. The gods never sweat, but then they begin to perspire under their arms. The normally fragrant bodies of the gods begin to smell. And the gods normally sit still and composed, but now they begin to fidget. Their voices become more coarse. The shining light of their bodies fade. They become attached to certain states of being, and they become weak and devoid of energy. These are the signs of human illness and old age that will happen to all of us, even in the heavenly realm of the gods. The person who wrote this, actually two commentaries on the god realms, say that the United States is a god realm. We know it's not a god realm, but there is some entitlement that goes with a sense of privilege of living in this country. You can see if that feels true for you or not. So the path out of this is to realize there's suffering, there's fear, and there's grasping. The path out of this is to come down into the world of dualities, into the world of good and bad and right and wrong and pain and suffering and aging, is to just come down here with all the other human beings. And the practices, once you get here: 1, meditation. You can watch your mind. You can watch impermanence. The antidote to the God realms is the awareness of impermanence. So I went to Ken MacLeod, The 37 Practices of a Bodhisattva. And I want to read you, this is from Tibetan Tokme Zongpo's, verse 19. Even when you are famous, honored by all, and as rich as the god of wealth himself, know that success in the world is ephemeral, and don't let it go to your head. This is the practice of a bodhisattva. Adversity wakes you up. You have to find a way to meet it one way or another. If you need to, you develop new abilities. If you cannot change the external situation, you look inside. In either case, you bring more attention to your life, and you may even work through a pattern or two. Good fortune, however, can put you to sleep. Your life becomes easier. Your survival is not threatened. Your immediate needs are met. You relax. You are in a good position. Good for patterns to run in. Good fortune smiles on you. You see it as evidence that you made the right decisions in your life. It is concrete proof that you are a superior person. Subtly or not so subtly, the way you relate to others changes. You adopt an air of entitlement and privilege, and you expect others to treat you with respect and deference you feel that you deserve. With good fortune, your attitude to change also changes. Life is good. You want to keep it that way. You seek ways to make your wealth, reputation, and status more secure. You take fewer risks. You become more conservative, concerned with the maintenance of the status quo and resistant to ideas and developments that could threaten your good fortune. Why do you take credit for your good fortune? Much of it is a matter of pure luck. Where you were born, who your parents are, and the opportunities you have or do not have in your life. Most of it is just luck. You exercise regularly and watch your diet, but your health depends just as much on your genes. Why do you take all the credit? You have a great job. Did you earn it, or did you happen to be in the right place at the right time? And if you win the lottery, why do you secretly congratulate yourself on picking just those numbers? If you take credit for all the good in your life, why do you not take equal credit for the accidents and mistakes? Do not let prosperity and success fool you into thinking that you can avoid change. natural disasters, economic downturns, a new government, changes in technology, illness, war. We now know this more because of the time we're in. Anything can wipe out your good fortune in a moment. It can be here one day and gone the next. As Tokmi Zongpo writes in verse 9, the happiness of the three worlds can disappear in a moment, like on a blade of grass. How do you use good fortune to wake up in your life? What can you do so that you do not go to sleep? How can you use good fortune to wake up in your life? And what can you do so that you do not go to sleep? And here's some questions. Have I always experienced happiness and pleasure? If my current happiness had a beginning, won't it eventually have an end? What do I ultimately do to myself by attempting to hold on to current experiences of pleasure, despite knowing deep down that they must eventually end? Is there anything that is not subject to impermanence and change? Is there anything that is not subject to impermanence and change? And if I myself am constantly changing, who am I really? Okay, so these are good questions. And I just lost the one that I gave you. Okay, happiness. What do you know about happiness? What makes you deeply and truly happy? I mean, really, what makes you deeply and truly happy? And what does impermanence have to do with this? Okay, gods, goddesses. We're lucky enough in this life to know happiness. I mean, I know each one of us has our own measure of sorrow, but we have amazing lives, really, if you look at the whole planet. So we worked with happiness some this summer. In this moment, what's your response? What brings you happiness? What makes you happy? And what does impermanence have to do with this that encourages happiness, that isn't an enemy of happiness, but it makes you, it is a source of happiness? What does impermanence have to do with happiness? Okay, so I'm going to put you in breakout rooms, 3 people in each